Warning: the following podcast has been rated listener R due to strong language, violent situations, drug references, sexual innuendos, and who knows what else. Listener discretion is advised. With that being said, hang on, sugar tits, because we're about to get wobbled.
All right, guys, we're back again with a part 2 of the Rendezvous episode. I'm telling you, you guys needed to be here. I keep hyping this up, and I hyped it up on the last one, but I'm telling you, you guys are going to enjoy this. So for this episode, we're going to start off with Train from East Washtenaw, Michigan. Like I said, him and I share a really good story about me being a prospect. I'm going to let him tell the story, spoil it too much for you guys, but you guys are going to hear it. Happy feet. Him and I are super close firefighters. He's from Cleveland East, Ohio. Him and I just share that personal connection that firefighters do, and we talk a lot about some of the shit that goes on. Berm, Codeman, and Birdlegs, all from Bell Dirty. Great fucking stories. Berm's got a great one. Me and Codeman had just met this night. We kind of sharing stories back and forth. Birdlegs and I were prospects together in Kentucky. I'm telling you, here it comes. You guys are going to want to hear this. Once again, if you could, turn that audio down just a little bit to start off with, because these interviews might be a little bit loud, some noise going on in the background. But just hang in there, because I'm telling you, these stories are worth the listen. I promise. Without further ado, I'm not going to make you guys wait any longer. Here is part 2 of Rendezvous in Michigan.
No, I love it. That's outstanding.
All right, guys, it's Wobble back. This is an interview that I've been looking forward to do, and the funny thing was I couldn't even remember your name for the longest time. I had to go back in the archives, and I was looking up because I knew it had something to do with Train, but there's a guy here named Crazy Train. I was like, I know that ain't him, but there's somebody else maybe, and had to dig through it all, and I finally found your Facebook picture, and I was like, man, I don't look like him, but it could have been him. And then when we shared the story, we actually found out that it was you, and we'll dig deeper into it, but want to start off by introducing Train. What's going on, brother?
Hey, what's going on, Robert Dan? Definitely appreciate you bringing me on the show. Definitely looking forward to swapping some war stories and just giving the people what they want right now.
For sure.
Talk some real Warthog stuff.
So tell me who you are inside the Warthog. So where are you from, and how did you get your road name?
So my name is Thomas, and I am 6'5", 385 pounds. I am a former University of Michigan offensive lineman, played in NFL, CFL, NFL Europe. And because I am of large stature, my first name is Thomas the Train.
That's perfect. That's great.
So, yeah, that's so I'm the vice president right now with East Washtenaw, number 79 within the Warthogs. Number 79 denotes the number of chapters that we have within the Warthog Nation. So we are the 79th chapter. I was part of the charter membership. I was the original president for that chapter, and currently right now serving as the vice president.
Well, I would like to say it's really cool that you got to experience all that. I'm unfortunately a Buckeyes fan, being from Ohio.
I get it. I respect it.
But it's really cool. I didn't know that you played. How long did you play football?
So I've been playing football since I was about 9, 10 years old. My dad played in the NFL. My mom was a shot putter back in college. So, I was definitely blessed with some athletic genes, if you will. And I probably stopped playing professionally in 2001 or 2. Then I came back to the University of Michigan, where I was a graduate assistant strength conditioning coach. Always been big into lifting weights. Did that for a few seasons. Figured out, it's not necessarily my gig, and got into law enforcement. So 19 years later, I'm with the Sheriff's Office, Washtenaw County Sheriff's Office right now. Currently serving as an SRO 6 years ago before retirement. Can't get here fast enough.
So the story that I wanted to share, and I talked to Playboy about it when I did his interview, I was a prospect in 21 for my very first Breeze ride. I knew what that meant to the Cambridge guys because they were super close to Breeze.
Right.
They all grew up around him and knew him. So I go on my first Breeze ride. I'm a prospect. It's the first event I've ever been in as a prospect. So
Right.
I don't know what to expect. There's a shit ton of bikes. Like, super nervous about all of it. We get to the first stop. We pull off. Everybody's doing their own thing, having beers or whatever. And I remember, you had called me over with my sponsor at the time. And you were the guy about the empty beer bottle story. I've told it 100 times on this podcast. I've told it to friends. But you had me hold an empty beer bottle just to have a conversation with you. As a prospect, you're like, oh, fuck, this is an empty beer bottle. I got to go get somebody another one. Like, no questions asked. I'm the grunt. I'm got to do my work, put in my grind. but it wasn't about that. It was more than just the beer bottle. And I want you to tell kind of your side of the story or what you remember of it.
The empty beer bottle really is more of a metaphor. I belong to several fraternal organizations, and a lot of it is we have new people that are trying to enter into our organizations. And with the Breeze Ride was not just a regional sort of thing. And this is the beautiful thing about the Warthogs. You have certain guys, certain members that are in this club that transcend where they're from or their regional residency, if you will. And as a nation, like these names ring loudly within the Warthog Nation. And so you have so many people coming to pay homage to this individual because of the fact that he died in a very, tragic, needless, do I say, needless way. But I'll just leave it at that. But everybody wanted to come and pay homage to Breeze because he was such a good member of the Warthog Nation. And so, as an older guy, as a president, I feel like we are gatekeepers to the Warthogs. Our job is to make sure that we're bringing in quality people. It's not about quantity, it's about quality. And I saw you, and it wasn't about me trying to give you a point of servitude. It was about me using the empty beer bottle as a vehicle to be the catalyst for conversation so that I could try to get to know you and you can get to know me.
Right.
Because as I said off air, if I come down your way and hey Wobble, hey Train's here, I want to know that Wobble's got me because if Wobble comes up to Southeast Michigan, hey Train, I got you, say less. Right? And but if you and I never really have any level of quote unquote intimate conversation, if you will, then how do we build that bond as quote unquote brothers? Just because you wear that patch, that center patch, does not mean you're my brother.
Right.
You're just a guy that's in the same organization as I am. And so, in order for you and I to create some level of kinship, we have to have some level of interaction. And the empty beer bottle was simply a vehicle to be the catalyst for that interaction.
And I told Playboy too, when I finally realized what that meant, I was like, man, I got to do that to other prospects because it just, as a prospect, it makes you super uncomfortable because it's not something that you're trained to do.
Right.
You're trained to see an empty beer bottle, you go fill it, you give, whatever.
Right.
But then just to stand there and I'm like, what does this guy want? Like, am I fucking up? Am I not fucking up? Am I doing what he wants? But like you said, it's just having that one-on-one conversation that you really don't get to have with a bunch of guys. Even at the rendezvous, you might shake a bunch of guys' hands, say, what's up? Good to see you. And then the next time you see him is the next rendezvous next year.
Exactly.
So you never have that deep one-on-one conversation. Like you said, really get to feel somebody out.
And the other piece behind it is like when you have something that is this large, this diverse, when you look at when we come together in something like this with a rendezvous, people naturally click up. You click up from your states, you click up from surrounding chapters, you click up from whatever your interests are, guys that you know, the old guys are hanging out with the old guys, young guys are hanging out with the young guys. So how do we break that up to let the diversity of the Warthogs really be our strength? But I can't let the diversity be our strength if I don't know you.
Right.
And that's really what I'm about. So like I said before, as a gatekeeper to what's going on right now, I feel like that's what we need to be doing. And it's not about servitude. I appreciate your enthusiasm and your vigor. Hey, I got to go get Train a beer, which is welcomed, but there's always a bigger picture.
Right. So do you have any kind of story that you'd like to share with everybody, whether it be a Warthog story, whether it be a job title story or anything, just something lighthearted, something kind of wrap up the interview?
It's more of a football story.
Sure, go ahead.
So I played at the University of Michigan, and we were playing in the Pigskin Classic. First game of the season back in '93. I'm starting right tackle. And so we are playing the University of Virginia. And we're down. We need to score. Field goal's not going to win the game. We need a touchdown. So we go on about a 75-yard drive, and it's about 3 seconds left in the game. We shoot a Hail Mary. Mercury Hayes catches it in the northeast corner of the end zone, get 1 foot in. For those that don't know, in college football, you only need 1 foot in versus the pros. Merc gets 1 foot in. So it's about 800 degrees out there. I'm sweating balls. 10,000% humidity, but hey, we just won the game. So I'm running down to go celebrate, and so there's this big ass dog pile, right? And I'm on the bottom of the dog pile. So I have my left arm somehow gets trapped behind my body, and you have to imagine at that time scholarships. We probably had about close to 100 guys on the team, and you just got 300-pounder after 300-pounder jumping on top of this dog pile. That was the first time in my young life that I ever thought I was going to die because I'm screaming, "Get off!" but nobody could hear me because at that time, before we did all of the renovations to the stadium, we were still, probably 106, 108 as far as fan attendance. So between the roar of the crowd, the excitement of my fellow Wolverines, I'm literally on the bottom of this mass of humanity, and I started saying prayers. Like, God, if this is my time, just let it be quick.
Right.
Because I thought I wasn't going to make it off the bottom of that pile. Ever since then, as I aged through the program, I was never the first one down there. And anytime there was a bunch of us, you only saw me on the outside of the pile. I would never again will I ever be on the bottom of any pile because that shit is scary. And I thought I was going to die. And I was saying prayers. And I wanted to go see my mom.
So when I played in high school, I played left tackle. So I want you to explain to everybody else how it feels to hear the call that you're pulling on the offensive line, and you're coming across and you're taking that defensive end off his feet and laying him out.
So what's really cool, so another football story. So, Rob, I know you're an O State fan, and this may hurt just a little bit. So 1996, we had already lost like 3 games. Some total of those 3 games were probably under 15 points. Like we let up at some point and just lost. We're playing the Buckeyes at the Shoe in Columbus, and I got to tell you the whole story, bro. This is a really good story. So Lloyd Carr is our head coach, and we take the bus down to Columbus. And on the bus ride down, just to let you know how long ago this was, we're watching Braveheart on the bus. But the movie was so good, you could kind of feel the emotional atmosphere starting to ramp up a little bit.
Oh, it's a classic.
Classic movie, right? At that point in time, we're going down to the Shoe. The Buckeyes are undefeated. They beat the Wolverines. They win the Big Ten championship. They go play for the national title, right? So our routine, whenever we travel, we go to whatever our hotel is, put our bags in our room. We'll meet back at whatever the dining hall or designated location is. We have dinner. Then at which point in time we watch another movie as a team. And then Coach Carr would come in and address the team. And then from there, you meet positionally with your position coach, and then it was time to rack out. So when Coach Carr started to address the team, Coach Carr was a genius in the psychological warfare and the Jedi mind tricks that he pulled. Hey, Scott Drisbot, I hope you got eyes in the back of your head, because I don't know about our left tackle being able to keep you safe the whole game. I was playing left tackle. So he did and said things like that with a lot of key positions. We had an All-American linebacker. That was back when you guys had Orlando Pace. He called out Glenn Steele. A bunch of, our Tier 1 guys not cutting the mustard, right? But he never called you out by name, but you knew when it was done. So by the time he was done, it was like, dude, we can't wait. Oh, this is how you feel about me?
Yeah.
I'm going to show you.
Yeah.
So get to the Shoe. And so on this particular day, the Buckeyes are having their senior day. So they're calling all their seniors out. So we're in the tunnel. So for those of you that don't know how the Shoe works, the opposing team is literally on the home team side. So you have to run across the field to get to your bench. So basically both teams will crisscross each other to get to their respective benches. So Steve King from Florida plays safety for us. Steve was kind of like that emotional spark plug. And obviously this is a televised game. ABC Channel 7, we got Keith Jackson, whoa, Nelly. And the TV guy was like, hey, guys, 30 seconds. They're still calling their guys out. Steve King went off on a fucking nut, just like a rant. So literally it's like the horses, the Clydesdales, were foaming at the mouth. Like, we got to go, right? So this dude's like, 30 seconds. Steve was like, fuck that, we're out. We ran him over. We ran through the O State senior procession, and we stood in the middle of the O. as a team. And when I tell you the amount of hate, like I'll be 50 this year. I've never felt hate that palpable in my life from an entire state. But it was beautiful because it was a galvanizing force for us as Wolverines. So we run off, go to our sideline, and when you look around, Rob, when I tell you, dudes were crying. I was crying because you had so much adrenaline going and so many emotions. That was the only way to
That
emote
adrenaline dump, yeah.
or to have that catharsism. It came out through tears.
Right.
And as build, it was a hard fought game. I remember Brian Katzenmoyer came through in an A-gap blitz. I picked it up, but he hit the shit out of me. I was like, oh shit, okay, big fella. And so going back to your original point, when you asked me about what it was like to pull. So what's a nip tuck game? I think we won like 12-9 or some shit. So fourth quarter, we gotta run this. I think we could go into like our 4-minute offense, whatever the case was. Like we gotta milk this clock. We ran a play called Chrysler. So at Michigan, when we made our checks, you would call Chrysler and then you would listen to a particular word. So if we called Plymouth, because of the L, you went left. If we called drive, you went right. So we ran counter trade. And the real counter trade, ladies and gentlemen, is when you pull the backside guard and tackle. Everybody else blocks down to that opposite side. So if I'm playing left tackle, my center blocks to the left. My right guard and right tackle are going to double team the 3 technique up to the backside backer with my left guard kicking out that defensive end and me as the left tackle pulling up in that B gap to pick up that Sam backer. Robert, we ran that 8 plays in a row. We ran Plymouth, we ran drive. We ran drive, Plymouth. They couldn't stop it. So finally, they get it stopped. I think we might have went for a field goal or whatever the case may have been. O-State gets the ball back. They had a couple of promising plays. Then whoever the quarterback was threw a pick to Marcus Ray, sealed the game. Now, ladies and gentlemen, I told you all that, but this is the funniest part of that story. We get on the bus, we're showered up, we're heading back to Ann Arbor. We're going to fly back. We bust down, we fly back. So we're going to head over to the airport. And we're on the bus yucking it up, having a good time. And I happen to look down, and I see the prettiest older white female with almost like a beehive hairdo, but her hair was snow white and just immaculate. And she just looked uber grandmotherly. And I looked down and I'm smiling and laughing, and we locked eyes. And she gave me the stiffest middle finger that I've ever been given in life. And I say that to say that tells you how personal and how deep the Ohio State-Michigan rivalry is that literally it's state against state. Houses are divided. Old people who are grandparents will cuss you smooth the fuck out depending on what color you're wearing.
There is no rivalry like the Ohio State.
It's none.
There's none.
You talk about the Iron Bowl
that's
and
what they say.
All this other
they
stuff.
Don't fucking know.
You don't fucking know, bro. When you look at all of our, not all, but a lot of our Michigan greats are from Ohio. Coach Bo Schembechler was from Ohio. Coach Gary Moeller was from Ohio. Charles Woodson from Ohio. Desmond Howard from Ohio, right? But they made the proper decision and came up north to good old Ann Arbor. And we've been laying the smack down for the last 3 years. Go Blue. Awesome job on the national championship. I'm looking forward to another hard-fought game as we go down to the shoe. Entertaining game. And interesting to see what Coach Sharon Moore does this year against Ryan Day. Ryan Day really needs to stop using just for men in his beard. It's not a good look, Coach Day. Not a good look. But, yeah, man, Wobble, I definitely appreciate your time, man. Thank you for bringing me on. And good luck to your podcast. I love what you're doing. I love the concept. And obviously, I'm expecting big things from you. And Warthogs forever, forever Warthogs.
Forever Warthogs, brother. I appreciate you. I come up to the Three Blind Mice last year and watched the Buckeyes lose. So I need you to come down to Cleveland, and I need you to watch Michigan lose this year at the bar when we come down.
Fuck that. We're not losing. Go Blue, baby.
All right, go Bucks. Have a good one, brother.
Appreciate you.
All right, guys, we're back again with another interview. This time I wanted to get another special friend of mine on. I can't even remember how we met or where we met. I think it was Vous, my first Vous in Kentucky, maybe. I think we might have shook hands first.
Yeah, that and then obviously Cambridge.
Yeah, you guys come down for the bike show you guys especially.
Yeah.
But I want to introduce you guys to Happy Feet. What's going on, brother?
Not much. Just enjoying the weather. I'm finally not dealing with the humidity.
Yeah, it's
So
not
it's
humid.
real
It's actually
nice.
nice this evening
It
to
is,
sit
it
out with
is.
even shorts on. It's not too
I'll tell you
cold,
what,
but
This weather's been great.
right.
For Michigan.
Yeah.
And I'm from Cleveland East, so we represent the east side of Cleveland. We go from Cleveland to the Ashtabula border, and we deal a lot with the humidity and the change of weather this time of year. So we kind of obviously mimic Michigan. So leaving home this morning and then coming up here and having the 4 days of real nice weather.
Right. It's nice.
It's real nice.
Fucking bikers and their loud
I
bikes.
know.
Shit bags.
Jerks. But
So-
yeah, no, it's been great. The weather's been awesome.
Right. So you're a firefighter up in
Yeah.
Cleveland.
Yeah, I work full time, City of Warren, which is down. We're halfway between, maybe a little bit less than halfway between Cleveland and Youngstown. And our name that the city gave to us was Little Detroit.
Okay.
Our demographics, about 60%, a little bit more rental. So we have a lot of what we do is arson.
Okay.
So we kind of mimic Detroit and what they do. We don't run EMS, no first responder, nothing like that.
Right.
Only fire only. So a lot of the stuff that we do is arson,
Okay.
for profit or revenge arson. So a lot of our fires are Hollywood, I guess is what we call it. So not a lot of content, but going throughout. So
Right.
we're very aggressive in that because it gives our younger members training opportunity is how
Sure.
we put it. So
Because once you get, especially those trailer fires and stuff like that, or
Yeah.
small things, it doesn't matter how fast you show up. Those
Yeah.
things go up super fast.
oh, for
It's
sure.
not-
And when we get these fires in these 1940 to 50s homes, balloon frame, by the time you show up, there's fire on all 3 floors. So we're pretty aggressive with that versus a lot of the departments that let the vacants burn. We look at it as a training opportunity. So
Sure.
we get the guys in there and put the fire out from the inside. The best quote that I've ever seen in the fire service was from a guy from Detroit. If you've ever seen the Berm documentary, a lot of departments in these vacant houses, water goes in from the outside. What we do is water comes out from the inside.
Right.
So that's what we do there.
Nice. It's nice to talk because, I mean, you see a bunch of Warthogs, and most of them are police, corrections. And I did volunteer fire department for 5 years. We did fire, we ran EMS. So I had my first responder card, fire card. And one of the biggest things I struggled with was the EMS side. Like, fire wasn't too bad, but EMS really took a toll on me. And one of the like straws that broke the camel's back, I guess you'd say, I bought a new house at the end of December. So I moved out of the district anyway, so I wasn't able to serve with them anymore. I was too far away from the volunteer house. But the last call that I was on was a auto accident. The car rolled 4 times, threw mom and her 3 kids out, and just pulling up on a scene like that and seeing bodies laying everywhere, and like just that shock of like, oh shit, this is. I mean, but you fall back on your training, so you know what to do. But you're like,
For
when
sure.
you take that step back, and you're like, fuck, this is bad.
For sure. I mean, being in the city that I work in, we get a lot of good accidents. A lot of what we do, we don't have auto aid like a lot of the country does or a lot of the communities around us. So a lot of what we do is with the people that we work with. Our duty shift, we have a 14-man minimum, and we have 20-man shift, which the city has cut our manning down from. So the city of Warren, just to put in perspective, took a big hit in the automotive industry, took a hit in the 70s, early 80s. So our city got cut down from about 90,000 residents. We're down to about 45,000 residents. And everybody left at once. So our manning also has followed that. So we used to have a over 100-man department. We're down to 60. When I started, we had 65. So we're running right now about 57 because of hiring. So when we show up on these calls, especially being in the middle of summer, instead of having the 20-man minimum that we have, we're showing up with our 14-man minimum, which we do our own dispatching still. So there's a fireman assigned to the radio every turn. Plus you have your assistant chief and then your safety officer and your pump operator and everything. So there's only about 9 or 10 guys working.
Right.
So when we go to these fires and we go to these car accidents, we have to be on our game.
Right.
And when I started 14 years ago, I started in a county that was saturated with paramedics, saturated with manning, and it was a different time. Now, when I took tests back then, you're fighting 3, 4, 500 people. Now we can barely even get people to take our tests when we only run fire.
Right.
And it's very difficult to get people to take your tests. And then it's having an aging department, you're having trouble getting guys to even show up for work. So we have to train and we have to be able to get guys to be aggressive and have that mentality that nobody else is coming for you. And when we go to these calls, we have to have guys know everything. We used to be a very hazmat oriented department and other specialties like that. But you have to have guys that are trained in all aspects. So when we go to these calls, guys have to have a little bit of knowledge in each of these fields. And especially with the fires, we've had record amount of fatalities in the city. And one of the assistant chiefs put it this way: it's not if, it's when. There's always going to be that call where you're going to have somebody trapped, whether it be a car accident or a fire. It's going to happen. And we won I would call it in our field a short amount of time. It was a couple of years. We had 7 fatalities in one house, and he's like, "Oh, it's going to happen again," and we're like, "Yeah, this guy's nuts." And then we go New Year's Day, double fatality, and it's like, well, he's right. It's going to happen again, and we have to hold our guys to a higher standard because there's nobody else coming, and we don't have the manning that we used to have. So everybody has to have a little bit of touch in each of these specialties. So,
Right.
Especially with the fire service in general and the public safety service in general, police, fire, EMS, hospital, it with the workforce being so depleted recently, I don't know what the answer to that is. The only short-term answer that I have is that you have to continue to encourage people to pursue these specialized trainings.
Right.
I don't like confined spaces. That's not my thing. Don't put my arms next to my body and not let me move. But I have my ice, I have my hazmat, I have my rope. Those are the things that interest me. And I'm not a hazmat guy, but it was something that I pursued because I didn't like it. And that's what I tell the young guys is find something that you like, go and do it, pursue the training in it. So if you're a rope guy, you like ropes, you like rappelling, go do it. After that is done, go find something you don't like.
Right.
Because eventually you're going to have to rely on that.
Yeah.
Even if you're not the person that is going in the hole, even if you're not the person in the big Gumby suit, if you're not the person in the doing the plugging and diking in a hazmat call, at least have the knowledge of what you need to do so you can get the
You don't have to be a
equipment out.
master at the trade, but
Yeah.
you got to at least know what's going on
Yeah.
when you hit the door.
So it's just a different world we live in, unless you get into a bigger city. But in our situation in the city I work with, nobody is coming. Nobody's coming to help you. We don't run mutual aid and we don't call mutual aid. So it's a very unique situation in 2024. But I'm very grateful. I've learned a lot since I have been where I'm at and being more of one of the senior guys on the department. But in my short time in the fire service, 14 years, compared to my dad, who started in 1973, 50 plus years, we lost 4 guys in the city of Warren, active guys since I've been there, 2 captains, a lieutenant, and a fireman. Line of duty, 2 line of duty deaths. So it took a toll on the department. It's hard to replace those guys, especially since those 4 guys were awesome at what they did. But it taught us a lot. It brought us a lot. The guys that got hired quickly, it brought us all together pretty quickly. But those experiences, the calls, and everything else. It's really matured us pretty quickly, I guess, and brought us together quickly. So it's been a good ride. Long time left to go.
Right.
A lot of young guys since then. A lot of guys retiring. A lot of guys hired in the past couple of years. I think we've been through probably 30 plus guys we've hired in a short time.
That's with us. We're getting a turnover rate, like it's getting pretty high, but we haven't hit that spot where the guys that started opened to roll over to retire yet. But we're getting, like, within the next 2-3 years, we're going to have guys in and out every month. So we're going to be bringing new guys in, and I already see now what kind of problems that creates. And I can only imagine it's the same.
Well,
thing with you
I
guys.
think the biggest problem that I've had with that, with the so many hires, is there's this mentality, and it drives me bananas. Is there's a mentality of, well, I need to get through my probation of a year, and I'm going to pass that on to somebody else who's below me. And there's these guys, they're like, well, I've been here a year, and this guy's been here 6 months, and this guy's been here, and everything is like beating your head about seniority, which I respect the guys that have been here longer than me, but it's been for at least the guys that have been below me, they've absorbed it in the wrong way. Where they're like, well, I mopped the kitchen, so now you have to mop the kitchen. And then they go sit in their ass. And it's like, that's not the whole point of seniority. That's not the whole point of being the low guy. Like, being the new guy is the same thing as being a prospect in a club.
Right.
It's your time to learn, your time to be exposed to different people and environments and personalities. It's the best time. And I think that a lot of the people nowadays take it in the wrong manner. Is one the new guy and they're going to treat me like shit, and they don't learn from it. That's not what it's supposed to be.
So we'll go ahead and wrap kind of back around. How did you get your road name, Happy Feet? Where did the guys come up with that for you?
We have an event called the Buckeye Bash for Cleveland East, and we had a band the one year, and this ties into the event before that, which was the Christmas party. So the Christmas party, I'm out on the dance floor, just having a good time, whatever. And then we had our Buckeye Bash. We had a band. They're playing Freebird. So I put a chair out, and I get up on the chair, and I'm like, I'm just partying away, dancing, whatever. And they're like, you know what? They're like, that's his name. They go, he's always moving his feet. And it's funny because I got shown a video on the way here by our president's wife of me riding my bike dancing while I'm riding here. And they're like, that's Happy Feet. But when they were going through names, they were going to name me Footloose. And I had just gotten married. And if you know Footloose and you watch that movie,
yeah,
they were like, yeah, I don't think that's appropriate. So they named me Happy Feet after the penguin who's always moving his feet.
Gotcha.
Because I'm always moving.
Right.
So that's how I got my road name.
Nice. Do you have any Warthog stories or work stories you'd like to share?
I have met a lot of great people in this club. One of my dear friends that we've been getting closer and closer together with through the past couple of years is Buzzkill out of Kentucky, out of Dixie. And we've shared a lot of stories together, stories from club life, from different aspects of club life, different views of club life, from how our club is, from other clubs, from our backgrounds, personal backgrounds. And that's what this club is about. There's always going to be a funny story or an embarrassing story or a man, that was a wild night story.
Oh, yeah.
There's always going to be those things. And I could share a funny story. I could share a oh shit story. There's sad stories, happy stories. There's plenty of guys that have joined our chapter 15, which is the guys that have died. And there's also stories that will live on in infamy because they're hilarious as shit. But the stories that get me, and this is how I got into this club as a full patch member, is those stories that I think go a little bit farther. I never did the prospect games. Um, my vice president is my cousin. His niece died. Um, her and two friends got hit by a drunk driver in Florida, and it was shortly after that I got patched in as a full member because I showed up, not because of family, but club stuff, to the funeral, everything else going on. And it's the small things that matter. And I carry that over into what I take away from all this is the small things. Like I met Buzzkill down in Cincinnati, and we kind of hit it off just with stories outside of the club. And I talked to him tonight. We exchanged coins last party, and he gave me a coin tonight that he had got through his work doing other stuff. And it's a special coin, it's a special story. And that's the stuff that I take away from this. Like, of course, there's stories that are funny and sad and happy and all that other shit, but it's the small stuff. And I'll never forget tonight, talking to Buzzkill and just sharing the little small stuff. That's how you and me got together.
Right.
Just the little small events. I came down for the bike show a couple times and just hitting it off and talking and like I said, there's popular people, and I don't believe in popularity as a contest.
Right.
And when you go home for the weekend and you come back next year, you hit it off with the popular people again. See the people on Facebook, but you always remember the small things.
That's what I do. When I come to big Vous and stuff like this, of course I want to see like good people and my friends and stuff, but there's always a few people every year. I'm like, I gotta find this guy, and you're one of those guys.
Yeah.
Every event that I look for you at, especially Vous, I'm like I gotta catch up with Happy Feet. I gotta talk to him. Fifth Gear from Kentucky.
Yes.
So him and I started kind of the same way, and we come up together a little bit. And then he told me when I stopped the podcast for a little bit, he texted me and he's like, "Are you fucking done or what's the deal?" I'm like, "Dude, I didn't even know you listened." He said, "I religiously, as soon as it fucking airs," he said, "I'm on that shit." He said, "I love it." So him and I started hitting it off. So I look for him every time I go and see him now.
Yeah, and that's what all this stuff is about. We raise money to support our members and the community around us. Public safety, right? It's looked down on so much recently, and I don't know what the answer to that is. Media, politics. Well, I'm not going to get into politics or whatever, but the only people that we have is us, and that's what this is about. That's why we're here. Yeah, the partying, drinking beers, hanging out, making memories, but at the end of the day, when we need to take care of something, we do, and that's what this is about. And nobody else is going to do that but us.
Right.
And people don't understand that until they're in this situation. So that is the stuff that I find most important. Yes, socializing and having a good time and partying and making memories and is very important. But who's there when you need them the most?
Right.
And that's how I got patched in as a full member in this club, because I put all that stuff as a priority, the small stuff that most people don't.
Right. Well, buddy, I really appreciate you getting on, sharing stories. Yeah. It's been a great time with you. I'm sure I'm going to see you the rest of the weekend.
For sure.
I'll be looking for you. I'll be at Police Memorial this upcoming year again. Okay. Hopefully you guys are coming down and be there for that.
For sure.
I got into that. That's another, like you said, small thing. My guys told me, like, hey, it's a good time. You got to come down and try it out. Last year was my first year, and it's going to be something I'm going to make every year. For it's an awesome time.
It's a good time.
It was a good time talking to you. I really appreciate you supporting the podcast and getting on.
Hell yeah.
Thanks again, bud.
Yeah, no problem.
So we're back with another interview, guys. This is another really important guy that I wanted to get on, a guy that's been listening since day one. I want to introduce you guys to Berm. What's going on, buddy?
Hey there, man. My name's Berm. I'm here with Wobble. I've known Wobble since he came into the club as a prospect. I'm from the Bel Air chapter. I am a deputy sheriff at the Belmont County Sheriff's Office. I know a lot of people on this podcast don't have a problem talking about their work. I have no such problem. I will talk about that openly. I'll just change the names to protect the guilty and innocent.
I can't even talk about where I work. They shut everything down the last time, and that's what got me fucked up the first time. But
And I understand
we
that.
still have a good time with it.
The odds of my sheriff hearing this are very low, so I'm not real worried about it.
So tell me how you got your road name. I'm sure everybody wants to know.
So my road name Berm, which for those that don't ride, aren't on the highway, is the side of the road. So I was a hangaround at the time. I wasn't even a prospect yet. And I was riding up to Geneva on the Lake with one of our older members and members from the Canton chapter, members from the Bel Air chapter. And I ended up breaking down by Ravenna on the Lake. So here I am, 2.5 hours from fucking home, right? Stranded. My stator goes out. Bike won't start, won't run, won't stay running, won't take a jump, nothing. So as I'm just a slick back, I have nothing on my back right now. I'm just a hang around. These guys call somebody that lives about an hour away from the Portage chapter to come and pick me up and trailer me 2 hours home. These guys would not leave me stranded by the side of the road. And that was the camaraderie I was looking for when I was out riding. So because where I can normally be found is the berm of the road, that's how I got my name.
I don't know if you remember my first encounter with a Warthog outside of Cambridge chapter was at Adventure Harley Davidson. We met when I was a hang around. You were there with your old lady.
I do remember
and
that, yeah.
I asked you like who you were with and shit like that, and you were the first guy I talked to outside of Cambridge. I was still just hanging around at the time.
Right, you were with Socks, right?
No, it was just me, and I was with my family, I believe.
Okay,
I don't think we went down for anything special.
I do remember that very vaguely.
Down. Yeah, it was a long. I mean 21,
that was,
but
4 or 5 years ago.
Yeah,
probably somewhere
but
around
still,
there.
I mean, so one big reason I wanted to get you on, like you said, you've been a listener since day one, and you and I obviously share a big story about my first rendezvous in Kentucky.
Your name was almost Liquor. Did you know that?
I knew Liquor. Instead of half stick, it was quarter stick or like couldn't stick or so, you know. So I'll let you tell the story because I'm sure you're going to tell it better than I will.
All right, so we have an old timer in our club. He's got probably 25 years in the club by now. His name is Woody, and he likes to go around and he does the lick 'em stick 'em tattoos. My old lady is well endowed, as anybody here that has met her can say. She has, let's not mince the words, she's got big tits. Okay, she does. They're wonderful to snuggle against. They're comfortable. She's built for comfort, not for speed. But so this young man here, Wobble, is a prospect for Cambridge, and we are in Kentucky.
We're in Kentucky. We're in Dixie.
We're in Kentucky.
And I got fucking hammered the night
You were
before.
hammered.
And it wasn't by choice. It was just everybody giving you shit and telling you to finish it and go get them a different one.
Exactly.
Force feeding you alcohol.
Yeah, you don't have a choice.
I didn't
in
say
that.
no to any of it. But
You
still.
can't. You're a prospect.
Right.
So as I'm walking around with my old lady, Woody comes up to us and goes, "Hey, have you ever heard of lick 'em stick 'em?" Now, to start this off, I'm bullshitting with Wobble in his chapter because I know several people from his chapter. We work together. We know each other. And he falls in love with my Bel Air patch that I have on my vest. So without a second thought, because that's what we do in this club, I got my knife out, I cut that fucker off, and I gave it to him.
I still have it.
And he still has it. He still wears it to this day.
I told Corey, I said, I asked you about it the day of, and you cut it off your vest. I was like, no, I don't want your patch. I want a Bel Air patch.
But it wasn't available otherwise. So how else are you going to get it?
And I will have that patch on for the rest of my fucking
I've
time.
got a Bel Air patch naming where I'm from, man. You know? So now you have a Bel Air patch. No, marking that connection. So as we're standing there with the old lady, Woody comes up to us, and he is talking about the lick 'em stick 'em stuff. And it's very respectful in our club. We were very, very much respect our old ladies. And Woody asked if that would be okay, because my wife's wearing a very low-cut top. Her boobs are showing. And this guy's staring right at him. How can you not, right? How can you not? He's not the first one. He won't be the last. So Woody explains to lick 'em stick 'em. Jamie agrees to it. I agree to it. Jamie goes in their trailer and takes everything off but her bra and her leather vest and comes back out. Now, this young man, Wobble, here is being so respectful and so awkward at the same time.
Because I had to. So the night before, I
You were
got
scared
drunk.
to death, dude. I know it.
Chewy told me, because of course I'm fucking hammered, and I'm walking around, I'm looking at all these chicks. Me and my girlfriend just got in a real bad breakup. I had bought her ticket to Vous that year. We were supposed to share a room that year. I was going to propose to her after we got back from Vous. So it was
you
bad.
didn't, by the way.
Yeah, thank God I didn't. But it was all bad, and I get there, and I'm like, fuck it, I'm just going to start pounding beers and shit and going
Off topic, did I tell you I ran into her in Logan?
I don't think so.
Yeah, me and Jamie went down. We were hanging out. We went down for a weekend. We went to go eat breakfast at some dive bar down there when we were leaving on Sunday. She's like, hey, do you remember me? I'm like, fuck no, I don't. I have no idea who you are. Oh, I used to date Wobble. I'm like, oh, shit.
That's crazy.
So now we're like, oh, God.
She's in Tennessee and a lesbian now. So that kind of fits the bill.
Yeah, that stands up. That stands to reason.
So Chewy told me, he pulls me aside. He's like, listen, I know what you're doing. I can see you looking around. But he said, you need to know every old lady here, every woman here is related or with another warthog. So he said,
and what's the number one rule? You don't fuck with
nobody's
woman,
old ladies at all. So he's like, I know what you're doing. He said, believe me, we've all done it. But he said, you can't fuck around here.
Right.
So I knew that going in. But then this challenge happened, and I'm like, I'm not supposed to do anything. I'm super fucking nervous. But anyway, I'll let you continue.
So my wife's a very good sport, and she agrees to let the lick'em stick'em happen on her relatively exposed bosom. If you can picture an anteater and sticking his tongue out as far as he can go and trying to be so polite with trying to put this lick'em stick'em tattoo on my wife's breast, my wife actually got tired of waiting for him to make contact and grabbed the back of his head and buried it and basically made him motorboat her to get that thing on.
It took 4 minutes. The video is 4 or 5 minutes long.
4 to 5 solid minutes to get that done.
Cottonmouth. I just steal Sox's beer. I remember I had to get him another one because I was like, my mouth is so fucking dry from puking all night the night before and not having any water the day after.
And I get it. You know, I'm not a small guy. I've been told I can come across as kind of standoffish when I'm wearing all this gear. So I get where you're coming from, but dude, I was all for it, man.
It was, and people were walking by and they're like, oh, you now have my attention. I didn't know what was going on here, but you have my attention. And I'm like, fuck, I just want to get this over with. I'm surrounded by hundreds of people, but I'm glad that we shared that story. And me and Happy Feet were talking about it. Every year when you come to Vous, of course you have like your warthog celebrities, the guys that see everybody and they're like, right. I got to find this guy. But he said it's the people that aren't celebrities, but somebody that you have a personal connection with.
Exactly.
That you want to see every time you go. He said that's most important. And I make it a point to see you, and I see her too, and I make sure that I give you guys both a hug. And I come down for the breeze ride every year too.
Every year, man, and we appreciate that.
That's a big ride for her and I. We like doing the breeze ride every year. I'm going to talk to Cut Up again about doing the 9/11 ride. He said they'd step back from it for a little while for some reason.
There's a lot of logistics that go with that. That's a pain in the ass.
Yeah, but he said he enjoyed hearing somebody else say that they loved it. And I said, you don't understand. Like, I could go and see that memorial 100 times. It doesn't matter. I said, it's just the camaraderie and going there, to the Harley Davidson shop where we ate last year and going out and seeing the 9/11 crash site and just all that shit. But I was talking to him about it earlier. But those are the kind of people that I like to come and see at every
Absolutely,
event.
Man. I have my people. I've been in the club a little bit longer, by all means. I'm not one of the old guys yet. I've only got 6 years in the club. But I've got certain people that I seek out that I always want to see when we go to big events. And you're right, it's that personal connection. And that's what I try and give to people that are coming in the club. For example, last night, I went ahead and paid for a pin for the year of Rendezvous, gave the money to Sting and said, hey, just take care of somebody new. And Sting, being one of our founding fathers, says, I'll tell you what, I'm going to make him come find you and thank you.
That's awesome.
He came and found me and thanked me later.
Me and Playboy were talking about it. We think we should have our prospects do some sort of task. Not something crazy like traveling across the U.S., but like just some sort of task they have to complete by the time that they're done. And that is perfect to say, hey, in this event of hundreds of people, go find me this one guy, and he's got something to tell you. Or
exactly.
And just go and shake everybody's fucking hand along the way until you meet your guy.
And somebody like Sting or Slasher, guys that started this club, that broke off with the Iron Pigs and started this whole thing that grew beyond their wildest imaginations, are people that you want to learn from. Birdlegs, for instance, that you're going to talk to here in a little bit, when he was prospecting in Kentucky, We forced him to take a blow-up sex doll around and get it signed by chapter presidents. And I didn't necessarily want the chapter president's signatures on it,
Exactly.
but I wanted him to meet these guys. Because if you're a chapter president, you've got some time in the club.
Right.
You've moved around. You've been a mover and shaker. You've done your time. And I want him to meet these people and start making connections outside of our chapter. And it's a really hard thing to do with our chapters being as spread out as they are, is making those connections. But as it is right now, I can go almost anywhere in the country and I can say, get on the app and say, hey, dude, I need a place to crash for the night. I'm like, Berm, come on over, man. I got a couch for you.
Right.
And these are people that I've drank beer with, that I've had shots with, that I've smoked cigars with, that have helped through their marriage problems, that have helped through their normal day-to-day problems.
And then you get guys like Dirty and 2 times came to my patch in from Florida when I got patched in at Cambridge. 2 times I was like, anytime, dude. He said, you call me if you're down in Daytona. He said, bring your old lady. He said, you guys will not pay for food. You won't pay for a place to stay.
Absolutely.
They just want the company. And I'm like, I've never fucking met you outside of this meeting or, shaking your hand at Vous.
Right.
And now you're offering me and my old lady to come down and just hang out at your place for a week in Daytona. Like,
this is a giant family.
It really is. And it's so, I love how tight knit it is and how much of a community and how everybody just kind of rolls together. And it's just amazing. It's hard to even describe in words what this club is all about. And everybody that I've talked to and interviewed so far says the same thing. Everybody sees the motorcycles, they see the cuts, and they immediately think 1% outlaw club.
And it's the furthest thing.
And it really is, because the moment anyone on the outside needs help, you and I are the first guys to show up.
Absolutely.
So for the stigma being out there is just awful for us.
Let's take, for example, the Bel Air chapter, our pet project, so to say. Everything that we raise throughout the year for our breeze ride, any fundraisers we do, other than our operating costs for our chapter, go towards ballistic vests for canines. Not the officers themselves, but the actual canines. Cambridge does similar with their annual bike show that they team up with the city of Cambridge. All your proceeds go to some type of charity, and that's what we donate to.
Right. I think we do Shuffle the Cop, and I think we've donated bulletproof vests for dogs too.
Right. Yeah, you guys have tied in with us before.
Right.
You've tied in with the vested interest in canines.
Yep.
And that's what this club is all about, is helping each other move forward and make our lives better.
Well, Berm, I really appreciate you jumping on, and I appreciate from the bottom of my heart supporting me from day one. I really appreciate you.
I appreciate you too, man.
I appreciate the way we met. I wouldn't change anything about our story, and I look forward to seeing you for years to come.
I would like to see you be a little more aggressive next time and get it done, because let's be honest, that's stretched out for much longer.
I'll tell you what, you give me another chance, and I'll make sure I get my money's worth.
Next time Jamie's around, I will, man. So who you want next, man? You want bird legs? You want Codeman?
Whichever you want. You hand the mic off, and we'll go.
Will do.
All right, guys. So the next interview I have is with another one of the Bel Air chapter guys. It's Codeman. What's going on, bud?
How are you, sir?
So let me ask you: are you related to anyone at Bel Air?
No. Well,
I thought I heard you call Dickie Dad.
I called Dickie Dad.
Okay, I thought you were his actual son.
No. We've I've known him very long, family friend.
Okay.
Him and my dad back in the day used to bounce together.
Okay.
So we were real close that way. Other than that, I mean, I dispatched for Martin Ferry Police Department. I was a Martin Ferry Fire Chief. And I'm a Bel Air Assistant Fire Chief. I know all these guys from the road and the PD side and the fire side really well.
Right. Yeah. So tell everybody a little bit about yourself with the Warthogs. How did you come to meet them, and how did you get your road name Codeman?
Well, so I got in the Warthogs. Actually, Bird Legs brought me in, got me hanging around, did a bunch of rides. We rode a lot. Got my name Codeman. Funny story, I was like, I've been 17 at the time. We had a farm. I worked on this lady's 1-ton GMC dually, 84, old square body Chevy, and they pretty much grabbed me up. My grandfather gave me that truck. I rebuilt it, big block Chevy, rebuilt it all, got it all. Dickie got a hold of a picture of my grandfather, gave me my name, said Codeman on the back of it, lime green letters on an old blue truck, and that's what stuck. Codeman.
Stuck. That's awesome, man.
Yeah, it's stuck. Yeah,
it's cool that you hear like people's road names come from times before they were even in the club.
Yeah,
too.
No, they brought shit back. It was 10 years prior to me even joining this club, you know. But, and like you said, I called Dickie Dad, and like I'm not related, but
Right.
that's
It's a family.
He lives half a mile from my house.
Right.
You know what I mean? So him and Share Bear is mom and dad. You know what I mean? They love our daughter. They treat her with mad respect. She calls him Uncle Bullshit.
I can see where she gets it.
Oh yeah, yeah, absolutely. Other than that, man, that's. I mean, so we have our tusk, right?
Yeah.
So my tusk comes from Big Dog, who's a part of our chapter. The handcuff key that's inside of it. I was a police officer in Bridgeport at the time, and Dickie gave me a handcuff key and told me that this is going to be worth something one day. So keep it. So I kept it for 8 years, and then I joined the club and I got my tusk, and I have it epoxied in there, and that's how I roll with it.
That's awesome.
It's Dickie's handcuff key. It means a lot to me. You know, not people all people like it, but I like it.
Oh yeah,
you know. We're different. You know that we're all different.
Everybody, especially in the club, is different.
Yeah,
it's cool that you got a story with Bird Legs because him and I prospected together. Granted, he was with Bel Air and I'm with Cambridge, but when I went and I was like, oh, okay, cool. At least it's another Ohio boy that's prospecting.
Yeah.
I'm not by myself. And really, our prospect roads just went two different ways. But when I saw him handcuffed to the sex doll, which we're going to talk about in a minute, I'm like, man, at least I ain't that guy. Like, it ain't that bad.
And we have that guy over here.
He is. He's going to be the next one.
Him and, yeah, I mean, Burley got me in with Hosey, and like I said, I knew Wrench. I knew all these guys.
Yeah.
I mean, I worked with them all. I mean, I did fire and police. You know, that's the name of the game back in the day. You know, I wanted to be somebody.
Right.
And now I don't do it all the time. Now I'm still assistant fire chief in Bel Air, but I'm a natural gas compressor. I'm a mechanic. But you come here, it gets me back into wanting to be full time fire again, man. Like I miss it. I do. I mean, I do it enough, but it's a good game.
Right. So do you have a Warthog story or a work story or something you'd like to share with everybody?
Well, I can tell you a Warthog story. We're going to Rochester, New York. I was a prospect, and it was Rochester a couple weeks before the Breeze Ride, right?
Right.
I'll get to Rochester. It rained 6 hours all the way up there, and I was told, you want to ride your bike? You join a bike club. I'm going to ride a bike. And we get all the way to New York, and the bridge is out. They have a drawbridge.
No shit.
We drove the sidewalk.
No shit.
Around that on our bikes.
Holy shit.
Because the GPS took us that way. So that's what we did. We drove.
Just
and then
on the sidewalk.
Oh, man. I'll tell you, Cruz hooked us up. Them guys from Rochester, they're great dudes. We had a garbage plate. I don't know if you ever heard of them things. Stay away from them. It's like big old beef patties and pasta and red sauce. And it's on a plate. It's on the garbage can lid. And I had to eat it all or I couldn't leave. And but no, the Warthog one, the one I can tell here, is the best one that riding down a sidewalk over a drawbridge because it was closed.
That's wild.
And we were going to ramp it. If we couldn't get through it, we were ramping it.
Fuck it. You're already that far in, so you can't turn around.
No, and he didn't want to. Dickie didn't want to. Dickie was leading us, so he didn't want to. And it was ignorant. It was ignorant. It was a good time. So that's why now, if you catch me riding, I ride on sidewalks a lot. Today I rode on like 5 or 6 sidewalks just because that's what I learned how to do that. I'm gonna ride on sidewalks.
Right.
You talk about work, man. I mean, all these guys, all of us, you know, firemen, yourself. We got down in business with it a lot of times. We live in a low income area, and we have a lot of arsons, and we all did our jobs, did our thing, man. It's a brotherhood, and there's a brotherhood, a sisterhood everywhere.
Yeah, it is.
I mean, hell, me and you met this weekend.
Yeah, really.
Yeah, and it's like I'm here.
Right.
You know what I mean? That's what we do.
It's a good time and it's a great place, especially rendezvous, because you get to see and meet so many people and you're trying to make connections. And I was just telling Berm a little bit ago, of course, like the Warthogs have their celebrity guys. You got to see these guys every time you go, but it's the guys that just you're cool with that mean the most to see every time at an event or a rendezvous that you take the time out to go see is what makes it.
Anymore, you got to meet everybody.
Right.
So I wander. I should be called Wander in all reality, man.
Just keep making laps around the whole fucking place.
I meet everybody. You get to know everybody. You get to hear their stories. It's just, I'm here now.
Right.
It's a big thing. You know what I mean? It's a different thing. It's nobody. If you need brotherhood, need like the whole, I'm gonna get your back when I got your back. You know, that's what we're all about. House is always open to everybody. We're always hanging out. It's a good time.
I appreciate you coming on, Codeman. I really do. Hopefully you listen to the podcast a little bit, get to know some
I
stuff's
might
going
get
on.
into
But
it in a minute.
some people aren't. It's hard to get
No,
into.
I got you.
I appreciate you taking the time to do it,
No,
man. I really
appreciate
do.
having me here.
Thanks, bud.
I ain't got a cool shit, but I'll get it.
I got it. You ready, Bird Legs?
Thank you.
No problem, buddy.
Okay, you got to keep the conversation going then.
How's Codeman? It wasn't that bad.
No, it's really easy. You look in his eyes, though, you want to have sex with him. It's weird.
I look in your eyes and have sex with you.
It's a good time. I mean, I'm not gonna give you a lot, but it's just enough.
I don't talk, so you got to keep it going.
It's all right. All right, guys. So the last guy up here with Bel Air is Bird Legs, and Bird Legs and I have a special connection because we prospected at the same time together. And Dixie, Kentucky was our first event there for Rendezvous as a prospect. So it's really cool that we got to experience kind of the same things and go through the same things at the same time. But I'll go ahead and introduce you guys to Bird Legs. What's going on, buddy?
Oh, not much. So, Warthogs. Let's see, I got started because of two of our members of the firehouse were Warthogs. They ended up sucking me into this shit show of a club. But yeah, it's a good time. It's good.
It really is. Who are the two guys that pulled you in?
It'd be Mr. Hosey, and then Berm was part of it also.
Okay, so what department were all you guys with at the time?
I'm with Nefs. Me and Mr. Hosey are both with Nefs Fire. Berm obviously is with Sheriff's Office.
Right.
But
that's cool that they brought you in and kind of like. So did you have a hang around period? Or did you just go straight into?
No, I had a hang around period. So they initially, I didn't have a bike. I got in a real bad wreck on a bike in 2013, and it messed me up pretty good. So I was always kind of iffy on getting one. Mr. Hosey got one. Obviously, I had to go get one, and I kind of eased back into it. My hang around period was me easing myself back into riding a bike again.
So my hang around period that I had a bike, but it was a Yamaha at the time, and I had just bought it and was kind of learning how to ride and shit like that.
Right.
And Grinder, who's now passed away with our Cambridge chapter, he came up. I was a volunteer firefighter at the time, but I was working at a trash service, and he came up, was dumping his trash, and I saw the center patch in like his back glass or whatever. So I asked him like, "Hey, where are you guys out of?" Just kind of checking in with the club and everything. And when he told me it was out of Cambridge, I said, "That's really cool," because I said I had first thought about joining the Axemen out of Columbus, but I didn't want to fucking drive 2 hours to fucking Columbus every time they had a meeting or whatever. So I was in talks with the Axemen about it, and I was like, you know what, I'll kind of check out Cambridge first, see what they're all about. And as soon as you get your feet wet with the Warthogs, it's one of those things that just sucks you in, and you can't. There's no going back from it. So I appreciate what I have with the Cambridge Warthogs, and I'll never give that back at all. But pointing everything back to you, how'd you get your road name?
So when I was a prospect, we were doing a poker run back home, and we stopped at Chaps Bar and Grill in Beaumont. Well, I don't know if you've been there, but they got that big 6-foot tall fence in the back.
Yeah.
I don't like spiders. I hate spiders. Anything to do with spiders, I hate them. So someone found a spider, and they were chasing me around with it, basically, is what happened. Well, about 3 of the Warthogs cornered me in the corner, and I ended up getting around them, and a couple others got into it. So next thing you know, there's like 8 or 9 Warthogs chasing me. Well, I jumped the fence and cleared it. So when I did that, they kept that in the back of their head. And then I come out to, I think it was the Vous, actually, or Prospect View. And I come out there, I had shorts on, and my legs are real tiny. So here they ended up coming
Super
up with
tall guy, but real tiny legs.
Yeah. So they ended up coming with bird legs.
Nice. So the next story I want you to tell is, because we prospected together, and I know some chapters have different things that you have to do during your VU period.
Right.
And yours, I was just telling Codeman, I was like, at least like there's another prospect with me, and we're close to living to each other, so it's not too bad. But, like, that's somebody I can kind of connect with. So like, it's okay, we're going through it together. And then when I saw you handcuffed to your sex doll, I was like, I'm fucking glad I'm not that guy.
Yeah. Well, I actually you had to do the prospect game.
I did the prospect game, so that's how you got out of the prospect game.
No, that's not how I got out. So me and Dickie, our president, ended up getting shit-faced, hammered drunk the night before, and I ended up waking up naked with a piece of pizza in my hand in the hotel room.
I ended up naked in my shower
Yeah.
And I blacked out and I woke back up. I was on the shuttle when I blacked out, and then woke up in the shower in the hotel room naked. And I was like, "Fuck! Please let this be my hotel room, and let there be nobody in here with me." So I did. I got up. So I didn't even put a towel on. I was so fucking drunk. I was like, "Fuck! I'm just gonna go check." So butt ass naked, open the door, and I was like, "Oh sweet, this is my room, and there's nobody in here." All right.
Yeah. So I ended up naked with a piece of pizza in my hand, and me and him had both got so drunk that he forgot to sign me up for prospect games.
Oh, okay.
So I ended up getting out of it until
That's
they were
funny.
over. But yeah,
the prospect games, for seeing what some guys have had to do since then, I'm I'm glad I got my shit done and went through it all. But it's a good time still.
I think the worst thing I had to do was that blow up doll that I had handcuffed.
That was great.
That thing, and I had to walk around and get every president and vice president of every chapter had to get their signature on it.
That's like me and Berm were talking. We were talking about Cambridge too. We'd like to get our new guys. You have a task to complete, whether it's at Vous or whether it's an event or something like that. Just some sort of task, just so you can get around and you can kind of shake hands with everybody and meet people, or something to prove that, hey, listen, I'm going to work for this and do it the right way.
Yeah, that doll was how I got to meet all the founding fathers. Shoes. That's how I met all of them. Was because of that doll. I had to get their signatures on it. So to me, it introduced me to who made the club, and I got a lot of history from it.
So that day, it was a Friday night. We come. I shook hands with Slasher. I met him. Of course, I'm fucking annihilated. Like, I can't even stand. I'm having a hard time moving around. So, of course, that's how I got the name Wobble, because I'm out dancing around and shit. But so, of course, I black out. Next morning, I get up, and I'm still making my rounds or whatever, and I go up to Slasher again. I shake his hand. I'm like, "Hi, I'm Cambridge's prospect." And he's like, "Oh, I met you." And I was like, "I don't think we have." He's like, "Oh, no." He's like, "I know who you are." He said, "I met you the night before." And I was like, "Fuck, that's not really a great first impression for, a founding father of the club." But every time I see him now, I go shake his hand, and he, we're good on good terms and shit. But it's just those kind of memories that you make with the club. That's what makes it worth it.
Yeah, and that, like I said, that doll was how I got all the history. I got to meet everybody that made the Warthogs, and it meant a lot.
Well, all right, buddy, I appreciate you coming on. Thanks for giving me a little bit of time. Hopefully you listen to the podcast and catch up with everything. But I appreciate you just giving me the time to do the interview, buddy. Thanks so much.
Thank you.